Hello and welcome back to The Content Bite, a podcast for anyone who uses their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a journalist, copywriter and content producer and the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for freelancers in creative circles. I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Lynn Testoni. Hi, Lynn.
Hi again, Rach. How are you?
I'm good.
Hi to all our lovely listeners. So my name's Lynn Testoni and I'm a content creator, writer and journalist. And today's episode, it's so exciting. It's all about the glamour world of TV.
It is very glamorous, and we're very excited to have a very glamorous guest on as well. Wendy Moore, the head of Foxtel's lifestyle channels. And she's going to be talking about how journos can transition from print into broadcast. But first, I'm going to read a little bio about Wendy. Wendy's one of Australia's most respected media execs, a highly experienced editor and publisher with over 20 years in print publications, developing and managing some of Australia's most iconic brands, from the Australian Women's Weekly and Better Homes and Gardens to Australian Home Beautiful, which I have written for. But anyway, I digress. After 12
Me
years...
too.
We're so crap at reading bios. We've got to finish the bio. After 12 years with Pacific Magazines, in 2019, Wendy expanded her media career to include an executive role in television by joining Foxtel as the general manager of the lifestyle channels. She's also comfortable in front of the camera. I love watching you in front of the camera, Wendy, knowing you as I do. It's so cool seeing you on TV. Her experience and passion for the lifestyle genre saw Wendy as a judge on Channel 7's hit show House Rules for 7 seasons, which many of you may have seen. Welcome to the Content by Wendy. It's really great to have you here.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much.
Hi.
I wasn't sure whether I was allowed to interject my own comments into the bio reading. You got on a bit of a roll. So.
We just interject constantly. We talk over each other. It's very, very, I like to say unprofessional, but Lynn likes to say informal.
Informal and collaborative.
Yes.
So Wendy, Rachel and I know you very well. And me, well, you know, because you're my sister.
Yeah. Which actually,
So I've known you all your life.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised at how many people don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
Different
I didn't know
surnames.
that until recently. I had no idea you guys were sisters. It was a bolt from the blue. But yeah, it makes sense actually. You're very similar in, you know, you look alike and everything. Actually, you look very different from your other sister, Diana.
Yes.
I wouldn't have known that Diana is your sister as well.
No, she's happy about that.
Yeah.
You guys.
But you worked with Wendy a while ago, Rachel, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember Wendy when we met.
Yeah, of course I remember. You were a gun. I was so excited.
Really? I was a gun. I was
Yes.
so young then. I must have been about 27. But
We were all so young. I must have only been 30.
yeah.
Mm.
Wow. So you'd come across to Bauer were you like working with Emma Nolan on the new TV Week?
Yeah, so I was already at ACP. It was in those days, and I was publisher of all the youth titles. And then we knew that we were going to get the buyout of the JV of TV Week, and they needed, and the changeover was going to be so fast. They needed kind of a changeover team to run it from the first moment. So because it being a weekly title, you have to be ready to go out straight away. So I was part of that kind of changeover team, and then. And it's so ironic, but it was at the kind of beginning of Big Brother. So it was really the beginning of reality TV. And I remember talking to Emma Nolan and saying, I think we need a reality TV section in TV Week. And then she put me in charge of finding all the journos to do all the writing. And I found you.
Yes, I think I was job sharing with other journos. Like there were so many job shares going on at that time, wasn't there?
Yeah, Brenda Cunningham.
Yes.
I'd worked with Brenda before, and so in the end it was we just had the two of you sharing pretty much that role.
Yeah.
And it was good because it was so fast-paced, and I remember like we literally got the magazine off, it was Pacific Magazines that had it at the time, and we got it off them, and we had a week to get the first issue out, and we didn't have any templates. We had nothing.
Yeah.
And so it was just
Full on but exciting.
Yes.
I remember those days so well. I think that was my first real, I was working at NW as well, but that was my first sort of mag role. And Brenda's still a great mate of mine today, even years later, even though she's now in the mountains now. We don't see each other much. But I went on to be TV Week's movie reviewer after that for 10 years.
Wow. Well, I remember seeing your byline forever. And remember we got Pete Timms in?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that was so long ago. I feel really old now.
But also, I think with what's been happening this week in magazine lands, it's great that we all I feel we all had those glory days of magazines. Do you miss it, Wendy, or?
I do. I mean, I think you always have that sense. I mean, I remember when I was a junior, I felt like I'd missed the glory days. Everyone would tell you how fabulous it was before you got there. And
Yes.
So there was always that feeling that you're kind of on the tail end of a fabulous time, but you look back at it and go, no, that was definitely the glory days. I remember working at Woman's Day when we were selling 1.2 million copies a week, and the parties, and it was just, there was so much money around, and there was just so much love for magazine, and there were so many people, and you had the resources that you needed, and you know, if you wanted something, you would just get it. You would say, I need this because this story matters, and you would get it. And if you had to justify yourself, it felt a bit like, well, gosh, that was a bit harder than I was expecting. And now, I mean, I have to do a business plan for every single thing I want to do, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think what I miss about magazines that I'm finding is quite different is just how creative it is. You know, every single issue you are creating something new from scratch, and it's all of your teams and, you know, your ideas from nothing to seeing it in print. And the turnaround is actually quite quick. I mean, it's not like digital, but the quality and the beauty and the absolute editorial creativity is just, it's quite a unique environment. And so I do miss that. But I don't know if it's ever going to be like that again.
I think there's so many people who had like a taste of that magical magazine world just in absolute mourning this week, because so many awesome brands have just gone this week alone. I mean, for so long, really. But when it all happens in a big rush, it's just so incredibly sad, isn't it? Because we were all there. We worked on so many of those brands, and it just is so sad.
Yeah, and you do. Because I remember I spoke to Jackie Mooney this week because she was the editor of Women's Health, and she did amazing things. You know, she did podcasts and events and, you know, secret sweats where they kind of do almost like a speakeasy style workout, and she did some really, really great things. And because I had recommended her for that role, and I recommended her for prevention, and then she moved from prevention to women's health. And we were just kind of talking, you know, just about the power of a magazine brand and how, you know, a magazine brand has a really true emotional connection with an audience. And it's quite, there are a hell of a lot of startup digital companies that would kill for the kind of connection that a magazine brand has with an audience. And I just feel really sad that brand and that brand connection hasn't been valued. Or has been, however it's happened, you know.
So if we should move on a bit to Foxtel, though.
We could talk about magazines all day, but
because you've been there for a bit of a year now, just over
it's
a
almost
year.
18 months now,
Yeah. And you're head of a huge department. What does your typical day look like?
Oh, goodness.
Or is nothing's typical at the moment, I guess?
There's nothing typical. I mean, nothing typical at the moment, but generally it works a little bit differently to the magazine, where you have kind of everybody that works on the title together. And I know that that's changing, particularly over at Bauer now, where you kind of have hubs. TV, it works a little bit like that. So, you know, yesterday we've got the new series of Gogglebox coming up, and so yesterday I had the creative team pitch me the promo concept. This is what it's going to look like. These are the words we're going to use. This is the kind of footage we're going to use. So we have a really big talk about that, and previous to that, our marketing lead wrote a brief, and she did an amazing job writing the brief. And so we just kind of go through the brief together and make sure we're hitting all the things that we really need the promo to be. And we just relaunched Arena. So that means a lot of meetings about, what is the logo going to look like? How are we going to use it in all different places? Let's have a look at, the EPG. I'm learning all these new words, which is fabulous. EPG, the electronic programming something.
Guide.
Yes.
Guide. EPG.
Yes. So, that logo is very small, so does it work when it's on the screen? And then the bugs, which is, how when you're watching a show and you've got like a logo sitting in the corner of the screen while you're watching it, that's the bug. And then there's deco, the things that come along the bottom of the screen. So I'm learning, there's so many new phrases that I've learned in the last 12 to 18 months. So it is quite creative, but what I find is there's a lot more people involved, and there's a lot more layers to what gets delivered. And so there's a lot of meetings, but what I love is that the people, I was a little bit worried, and I think there's that thing with magazine people, we always feel a bit intimidated by the TV world, like they're a bit shinier and a bit more professional and a bit sexier than us. But actually what I find is that we're all the same people, and I've found all these fabulously creative, like-minded, fast-moving, passionate people that feel like they've come from the magazine world, even though they've never worked in the magazine world.
Yeah.
And so that's been nice to have that connection. So I don't know, is that a typical day? Does that answer any questions?
As typical as it is.
Yeah.
But it must have been such a massive change for you going from print to broadcast, and even being on camera yourself. I mean, were there any really big, surprises or learning curves in making that transition?
Oh, look, I think the budgets are bigger, which kind of makes it sound glamorous, but it's also a bit scarier. There's a lot more at stake. And with a magazine, you kind of have that lovely test and learn. You try a cover line, did it work? You try that style of cover, did it work? And you get immediate results, and then you can pretty much use the learnings from one issue to change the next issue. And but with TV, mostly what you're doing in the TV that we create, I mean, other than Gogglebox, which is a little bit more kind of a role in production, you're kind of creating an entire series, and often you've finished it and it's all done before it actually starts going to air. So you don't have the opportunity to do that little litmus test here and there. And so
a little
there's
tweaking along the way.
Yeah, you don't have that ability.
Yeah.
With Gogglebox, we can probably tweak it along the way as we go. But, that has, it has a very strong brand that we kind of know what fits into it and what doesn't. But, that was a little bit intimidating, I think.
You'd spent 7 years with House Rules, though. Some of those things you would have, some of those learnings, although being in front of the camera is different from being where you are now, like behind the camera effectively.
Yeah, I think what was lucky for me is that because I started on House Rules, because I was helping with the pre-production. So Ricky Proust, who helped develop, or, was one of the developers of MKR, had come up with this idea of House Rules with the 7 team, and he basically got in touch with me, and he was great. He just said, look, I know everything about making MKR and making reality TV, but I don't know anything about renovations. Can you help me? So I kind of got involved in that way and helped develop budgets about what a renovation should cost, which is kind of laughable considering how over budget I went on my own. But what suppliers we should speak to, where all the shops are, all of that kind of back end stuff. And so I got fairly friendly with the whole production team from the beginning. And then I think because I was actually in the company, when they cast me as one of the judges, it was a funny kind of moment because all I wanted, because Home Beautiful had been going so well and we were starting to be number one and we were starting to get real momentum. And then our main competitor at the time, which was House and Garden, we started to beat them every now and then we finally got to the stage where we were beating them pretty much all the time. And it was really exciting. And then, of course, House and Garden, which was such an established and important magazine for Bauer at the time, did this huge marketing campaign. And then they kind of popped up again. And it was just driving me mad because I was never going to get that kind of marketing budget. And so when I was so bloody generous with House Rules because all I was thinking is I want promo. I want Home Beautiful to be promoted on the show. And so when they said they wanted to screen test me, I thought, that means we'll definitely get promos. Yes. And it was all of my ambitions were for Home Beautiful to get promoted on the show. And I never really thought about personally, and it's a hard thing to comprehend how it would affect me personally actually doing it, which was probably a good thing because I probably would have done it anyway, but it was just something that didn't come into my mind. But it meant that when they said they wanted to screen test me, then this pressure was on because I thought, oh my God, there's no reason why I would get this role, but if I don't get this role, then everybody will know that I went for it. And it was so, anyway, then I did get it, and then we did get the promo, and that was fabulous. And then we were selling more than everyone for a long time there. So it was kind of that final push to keep us on top and then keep us growing, that was kind of the exciting part. I think because I was part of the company, then I kept really close to the production and the production office, and we were doing all the stuff in the magazine. So that kind of back-end stuff made it quite a different experience. Had I been talent that just kind of turned up on set and did my job and went home, I think it gave me a lot more of an understanding about what it actually takes to put a TV show together and how many people involved and what are the titles of the people and what does a line manager do and what's the difference between a line manager and a production manager. And so I did have a lot of that background knowledge, which I think helped. It's easier to sit in a meeting and not feel like a dunce and not feel like you don't belong when you understand the lingo a bit more. And there was still lingo like EPG and bugs that I was thinking, oh my God, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That's the same with anything.
So you're just pretending. I remember a journo said to me, actually asked me what a CTA was, and I went, wow, okay.
Yes.
We really
a call to action, so nobody feels bad if they don't know.
And I kind of felt the same, but I think I made the decision to just ask every question in the first couple of months because it's a bit more acceptable to not know when you knew than pretend you know and then think, and
write it down in a little book and have it in your handbag.
Yes. And then there's that funny thing about, the EPG is a great example. I just said, I don't know what an EPG is. And everyone around the table went, oh, what does it actually stand for? And somebody had to look it up. That got a little bit better. But, I think it's best just to own it at the beginning and just say, no, I don't know what that means. Can you explain this to me?
Because do you feel there are quite a few transferable skills? So for our audience, which are freelancers and often working in print, do you think there's some good transferable skills that they can take into sort of broadcast and TV?
Oh, yes. I mean, firstly, I want to say magazine people are quite unique in how multi-talented we are. Like we're used to running on the smell of an oily rag. We're used to saying, okay, I don't know how to do that. Okay, I need to find out how to do that. Let's work out how to make a podcast, even though we've never done it before. We're just going to learn how to do it. And I think magazine people are doers from that point of view. And maybe that's because, we actually have been in a declining industry for a really long time. So we've always had to absorb different work. And I think that that's actually a positive thing. So that's kind of I think the makeup of magazine people is transferable in one way, but then the skill of understanding an audience and being able to read that and then not just understand it and read it, but then create something that you think is going to match and know what tone you need to use and what the emotional state of the people are at the time that they're consuming that media is a really, really difficult skill. And as a magazine person, particularly if you're born and bred, you take it for granted that that's what you do. But actually that is a skill that's in great demand. And then I think from a magazine person, like that kind of agility, you know, TV is basically a series of breakouts. You know, if you write a magazine story and you've got this is the body, here's the breakout, here's the breakout, here's the breakout, writing for TV is really getting the breakouts right. What are the breakouts in this story? How do we turn that into a script? Where do we want that? And it's a little bit like designing a page. We need, what's the order of the reading? How does it make sense? Where are we going to put the copy? What picture are they going to look at first? What are they going to want to know about that? That thinking of structure of a story is very similar to creating a story on TV. Yeah. And I think that kind of brain pathway we do take for granted again, and it is.
I sometimes think that because, as you say, magazines and even print generally has been in a declining sort of pattern, that a lot of people still working there have this really, don't feel very confident with their own abilities, and they actually don't realise how good they are. Because I meet people who are still in magazines all the time and I know they're really good. And because they've been so crushed by what's been going on, they don't realise how clever they are and how other places could use those skills.
And so you put off going and trying new things or dipping your toe in new kind of, you know, like areas because you're so paranoid that you won't be able to do it. Do you know what I mean?
It's like we've been made to feel like dinosaurs for so long.
Yeah.
That I think we lose confidence, like we've been left behind. But you know, I'm literally writing a list of all the really clever magazine people that I'm going to try and work out how to get them to do some stuff, because they are very like-minded to TV people. Surprisingly, that passion that drives you to make content for an audience is really quite unique. And I think TV could really use more magazine people. And
storytellers always are in demand.
What kind of roles would they be looking at to, you know, do in TV? What kind of jobs could they be?
One of the things that I think is that TV is evolving as well, and I think what we need to do is make more audience responsive content. So rather than the big kind of shiny floor shows or the big productions, come up with those smaller ideas and work with a team that know how to just make something and just get the idea across in pictures. And, you know, there's one producer that I work with, Tara King, who's just really clever at just making an idea, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but she just gets it into video form and says, this is my concept. And she's really fluid and she'll work with everyone. Now, she's a TV person, not a magazine person, but she thinks in that same way. So it could be script writing. I think that magazine writers are quite natural producers because they are used to what is the story, what does the structure of the story need to be, how are we going to tell that story. And, you know, for so many magazine people, we've had that frustration of not having the moving pictures ability on the page. And now we have this whole world of a whole other medium to tell the story we've always had to tell. And it's often much harder to tell a great story in stills than it is in moving pictures. So I do feel that there's an ability to actually be better because you've had to work within more limitations.
Yeah. So going for like producer roles or script writing roles, could be one option, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. You do a lot more multi-platform stuff as well, because all your things have like social media and websites as well, which require content people too.
I mean, most TV shows want a social experience to go with it, and they want to have that feedback and that conversation. They've got a website that goes with it. They need to keep that kind of relevance all the time. And so magazine people have been doing that for years. I mean, I know, having been at Pacific for so long, they've been amazing at all of the social content that they've created. Podcasts are also doing well. You know, we have some true crime shows that have been done in Jim Buchan's group, which is another department in Foxtel, and he's done some podcasts to back up the show, the true crime shows, and that's worked really well. So, you know, if you can go in and say, I know how to make a podcast with a small crew and I can deliver it and I can help you write it, then that's gold. That's really valuable. So it's all that kind of multi-platform stuff that sits with the show, which if you are lacking in a bit of confidence might give you that kind of comfort zone to go into and say, I know how to do this already. And, you know, we make so much digital content for Gogglebox, and we've just got a contractor in who's an ex-magazine person to work on Gogglebox for 10 weeks because we just want to make a huge amount of content and get it rolling as soon as the episode's out. And that's such fast turnaround. And, you know, magazine and news people are used to doing that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, that's good. What other kind of skills would you be looking at if you were leaving magazines right now and thinking about where else you could place yourself? Like, do you think video is a really good one?
Yeah, video is really good. And I think, you know, we have a whole market of really professional people who do broadcast video and long-form TV. But what we need is, you know, a little bit more agile people that are doing social video and video that connects with your programs but isn't necessarily the same as the programs, or video editing. So being able to go into, you know, we have this great young guy, Brendan, on our team who will go through selling houses or go through Love It or List It and actually pull pieces from the show and create bespoke video that can promote it or that can follow up or get a bit of conversation going. So it can be just editing. It doesn't have to be shooting. And so there's a number of different ways to cut it. And I think also just, you know, those kind of graphic-driven and text-driven videos are really, really handy to have.
So they're good things to upskill in, do you think?
I think so, yeah. And I think it's like anywhere, even in magazines, we were looking for more multi-skilled people. So it's the multi-skill, I think, that gives you more tools.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, but what's your favourite thing about your new job? Well, it's not really new, but anymore. But what's your favourite thing?
God, there's so many. So I work with our head of programming, Heidi, is just this brain of amazing data. She knows, and I think what I love about programmers, which I didn't have anything to do with before this job, is they have, you know, they're data people. They understand numbers and audience and what worked and what didn't, and they can tell you exactly how many people watched which episode of which show this week, and they can tell you which episode is on at what time on our own network as well as on competitive networks. So they have that real amazing data mind, but then they have this emotional intelligence that says, I'm going to run this show at this time and then I'm going to follow it with this show because I think that mood is going to be a nice kind of way to draw them to the next program, and it can't jolt, or at this time I think we need to jolt, or like it is that rare mix of data intelligence and emotional intelligence. So I've really enjoyed getting my head into that whole new area that I had no idea.
So interesting. It's definitely not something you think about from a viewer's perspective.
No.
All that stuff that's going on behind the scenes and all that planning and that intricacy of, you know, figuring out what a viewer's mood might be and how to plan. You know, it's like a flat plan for TV, how to do it effectively.
It is very much a flat plan. And I think about that. It's a similar mindset when you kind of think, how do I want the colours to flow? And then, you know, we had that great thing where we could say, well, that ad really works well in that space and it feels like part of the reading experience. So that's how it is, very much like pagination, but with so much more data about what happened yesterday, what the competitors are doing, and you know, what else is happening at that time and what they might have come from. So have they just come to us from MasterChef, and what kind of mood are they going to be in? And all of that kind of emotional intelligence, I think, that's kind of been my favourite learning. And Heidi's just been this like godsend, because I just don't, that's not my area. And sometimes I just get terrified at just how much I don't know in that area. And she's just a pro that, thank God, she's there. And I think we're in the stage where we're developing new shows. So actually coming up with a whole new format, that's probably been...
That's exciting, isn't it?
That's really exciting. And we've just done... Foxtel just did a really big deal with Warner, and it's everything from HBO to movies and everything like that. But as part of that, there's a local production commitment. So we are going into development on brand new shows that we're going to produce in Australia with Warner. And so it's just this fabulous kind of international company with our really strong Australian company. And I love the fact that we're sitting down talking about a new show and who do we want to be on it and what kind of talent, and it has to have this mood, and we can't have... I don't want any drama. I'm done with the whole drama and the villain thing, and it's so nice to be able to control that and be involved in that. That's probably really the exciting part.
Do you prefer what you're doing now as opposed to being on camera?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, from a day-to-day, I definitely do. And there was a time when I thought I might try and do both, but I needed to be 100% in this space just to learn and get absorbed and just really get it. So I'm glad that I didn't do that last season of House Rules, because I think I would... I mean, besides the fact that I would have been stuck down the South Coast in a fire when I was supposed to be filming, I think this year would have been a completely different year of stress for me had I done that show, that last series of the show. And so I'm really glad. But I miss being on set, actually. That's what I miss, just being on set and watching, you talking to the camera guys, and it's like being on a normal shoot, you know, when you're doing the big shoot for Home Beautiful. I would always love being there. And I think with Home Beautiful, you kind of turn up and you're editor-in-chief, and so everybody, you know, you don't actually have an active role. So you're kind of there and you feel like people are trying to reassure you that they're doing a good job and you're just there to enjoy it. Whereas when you're there as talent or something like that, you've got a role, and so you've got a reason to be there. So you get a bit more intrinsic in the whole process. So I miss that part of it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Wow. Well, I think that's really good. We should wrap it up now, because I know you have a meeting to get to. Another. Your life is meetings. It's so great to have you on. I mean, obviously I'm totally biased because you are my sister, but you do always have so much value, Wendy. And I am biased because we've run a few times and you've told me many stories, and I know what a great manager you are, and it's wonderful to see you.
And you've given a lot of hope, I think, to the journos out there who may be kind of thinking, oh my God, what do I do next? You know, I mean, what would be any final words of hope you might have for people at the moment in that landscape?
So firstly, after Lynn said all those nice things, I have to say that Lynn was the one who gave me work experience at Dolly magazine when I was in year 10. It was like, it made me one of the coolest girls for like a week. That I knew someone that worked at Dolly's magazine, and I got to do work experience there. And that I once had a boyfriend dump me because I was too cool. After Lynn, I stayed with Lynn for a week and she took me shopping and I got new clothes. And he said that I was too trendy and he dumped me. And I think, well, that's gone down in history as the best reason to be dumped.
Yeah.
So
good memories.
But I think from a hope point of view, I do just want to say that don't be intimidated by the TV world as a magazine person. You think the right way, you're more agile, and you have so much to offer. And magazine people are quite unique in just what great workers they are, and how they just make things happen. We're doers. We just get it done. And that is really valued.
Fantastic.
Give it a crack.
So that brings us to the end of the show for this week. So thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you, Wendy, so much for joining us. And
thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
It's so nice to catch up with you as well.
I know.
It's sad, Lynn, that our best conversation in the last couple of weeks has been this podcast.
Yeah, it is a bit bad.
And Rach, that it's taken this many years for us to catch up properly.
I know. I think I missed a drinks thing that Lynn was having and you were going to be there, and that was one of the main reasons I was so gutted. I was like, damn it, I haven't seen Wendy in like a decade and now I'm missing it again.
I know,
Yeah.
we're letting our age go now.
Virtually. We catch up virtually.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you. So thank you very much. If you love us and love Wendy, please leave us a review on all your favourite podcast platforms, because we love it. And we like the fact, I think Rachel and I were saying that now it's people that, not just our best friends and family, that are leaving reviews. It's other
we don't
people as
know,
well.
which is quite exciting.
Yes. So and also Rachel will have all the show notes from this episode will be on Rachel's list in the blog section.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.